Sure, nice demo, Baird, but is it gonna work?
Well, for that, we're gonna need a test fire.
Forget test fires. We need an actual target.
If we're selecting targets, shouldn't someone with real military authority be here?
It's Foz, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Shut the fuck up, Foz.
Yep, sir.
Hello there, and welcome to the Xbox Chums Podcast, the podcast all about Xbox and video games. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by the katana to my Master Chief, John. Now, John, I'm going to hit you with some fire right off the bat. Who's your favorite Gears of War character? Go!
Marcus Phoenix. He's the only one I can name.
Oh, the original OG. That's a good choice, man. That's a really good choice, you know?
Yeah, bro. Actually, isn't Dom another one? Dom or Don?
Yep,
He's
Dom,
the other guy?
Yep, Dom is the bromance, you know? Like, I could be your Dom to your Marcus, bro.
Yeah, why didn't you lead in with that, bro? How many Gears of War characters can you name?
Well, I looked it up, so... Anya Stroud, Augustus Cole... Baird,
okay, I knew
Carmine.
that one. It's all coming back.
You remember Carmine, the character that dies in every Gears of War?
What? He's the Kenny of Gears of War?
Yeah, him and it's his brothers, but there's one in every Gears, and they all die.
Poor mom. It's like Saving Private Ryan. It's like, oh, I had 4 boys. They all died and went to war.
Well, it is a Saving Private Ryan because the one doesn't die. So in the third game, they drop it. He survives.
So. Oh, well, that's very cheap. Way to go, Xbox.
And you're probably wondering, why is Nick leading the show this way? But you're going to find out as we have a traitor among us.
Hey, I'm just trying to enjoy video games.
Okay.
It's certainly not me. I am not the traitor. Not me.
All right. Well, we'll find out, won't we?
Yes, we will. We will shortly.
All right, so this is how the show works. John and I both bring 3 things to talk about. It can be all about Xbox. It can be our favorite Xbox franchise. It can be Xbox in the news. You know, that we can't wait till Xbox finishes its acquisition of Activision Blizzard. You know, it can be an email to PlayStationPalsPod@gmail.com, a Twitter DM at PSPalsPod, or a comment on our YouTube page, PlayStation Pals. Any of those things. We feel like it, we bring it. And now, normally in the show, we're both usually aware of all 6 topics, but I'm hiding the first 2 topics from John this time. Are you excited?
No, it makes me a little nervous. I don't know if I'm about to be clowned or if I'm about to show how truly little I do know about video games, but I'm ready for it either way.
I never clown you on this podcast, ever. Not even within a minute ago.
You clown me all the time, but that's what you do.
Okay, well, the first topic I am going to bring is an email, John. We got an email.
Way. We got an email?
Yeah.
From who? Is it somebody I know personally?
No, it's not.
Oh, wow, okay.
Well, I wouldn't bring that.
Okay. I'm excited now. Now I am excited.
All right, you ready?
Ready. Yes.
All right. Hey, Nick and John. My name is Jesse, and I live in New Zealand. I've just discovered your podcast this week, and I've been listening to it from the beginning. I play video games every day, but don't have any friends who play them, so I love listening to you guys talk about the latest news, upcoming releases, and your opinions on things. I just wanted to say, keep up the good work, and I'm looking forward to catching up to your latest podcast. Thanks, Jesse.
Oh, Jesse, my guy. Jesse Pinkman from New Zealand, dude. Well, thanks for writing in, Jesse. That's probably, this alongside with the early letter we got from Mark are now my 2 shining moments on this show. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of why we do it, for this very reason. This is why I got into podcasts, is because nobody liked video games on the same level that I did. So I couldn't get the interaction that I was looking for when it came to playing all the most recent releases in the way that you and I consume video games. So that's how I fell into podcasts years and years and years and years ago. So I'm glad that we're providing that same kind of entertainment for person all across the world too. Not even remotely local.
Yeah, the fact that my voice is being heard in the country that I want to visit probably most in this world is a really cool feeling. So, Jesse, know that your life is amazing, and us over here in the United States are very jealous of the beautiful landscape and awesome prime minister that you at least had. I'm not sure who your prime minister is now, but Jacinda seemed to be awesome, and I'm jealous in every facet of your life, and I'm going to come visit you one day. So, whenever I book my ticket to New Zealand, I expect to be have a bed ready for me. I expect some New Zealand food. I don't know if some tribal food, the Maori tribe, whatever they got going on over there. But I expect the red carpet to be rolled out whenever I do come. So. Awesome to hear, though, Jesse. Really, for real, man. Or maybe you're a girl. I hope that's not offensive, but Jesse can go both ways. But please write us back. Let us know. What are your favorite games? What do you like to play? If you want to share us your PSN network name or anything like that, we're happy to kind of just become friends on there, and we can always see what each other are playing. All that good kind of stuff. But happy to hear from you, Jesse.
Yeah, and it might be a while since he said he's catching up on all of our episodes. So.
That's okay. That's okay. I mean, it'll be like Christmas morning whenever it comes, just a surprise Christmas morning whenever he gets current and accepts my invitation, or I accept his invitation to come and live with him in New Zealand. So it's awesome.
All right. So yeah, I know John was having a rough week, so I knew that would pick you up, John. That people actually like listening to you.
Yes, yeah, that does pick me up. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Jesse. All good now. I feel refreshed. I feel rejuvenated.
All right, and then we'll move on to our next topic. It's another mystery topic. John is not aware of this, and it is an Xbox trivia contest for our newly found Xbot on the show.
Okay.
See how well
right.
he knows his new platform.
Not very well if any of the questions are from like this year backwards. So, but let's give it a shot.
All right, it's multiple choice, so at least you can give your best guess. All right.
Yep.
All right. Question number 1.
Wait. Before you start, how many questions am I getting?
5.
I'll prepare myself. 5. Okay. 5 questions. Okay.
All right. Some are softball, some are a little harder. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. When did your new Lord and Savior, Phil Spencer, become head of Xbox? Was it 2018, 2014, 2011, or 2020?
2014, 2011, 2018, or 2020?
Yep.
I believe it was 2014 because it was right after the Xbox One launched, and he kind of took over to become everybody's best friend, or everybody wants to be his best friend. I think so. I'm going to go with 2014.
Okay, you were right. Good job.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. No, that seems about right. It was either between that or 2011. I know he's been around for a little while now. So, but yeah, I believe it was right after the Xbox One launched.
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
Mm-hmm. That's
Yay!
correct.
I'm the best. Yay!
All right. Question number 2. What franchise has sold the most for Xbox? Is it Gears of War, Forza, Kinect Adventures, Halo, or Sea of Thieves?
So you said franchise, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So obviously, right off the bat, Forza and Halo kind of stand out because of just the sheer amount of releases. Can you go through them one more time for me, Nick? I know Sea of Thieves, Halo, Forza, and what were the other 2?
Gears of War and Kinect Adventures.
Kinect Adventures. That's a surprise one because I know it was bundled in with something when the Kinect was in everything. So it's like the Wii Sports of the Xbox. But I think this is one of those scenarios where you kind of have to go with the expected answer. I think I got to go with Halo just because it dominated so much of the early cycle for Xbox. Halo.
You are correct. Halo is number 1 at 81 million.
Okay.
Now, this is, in fact, the top 5 selling franchises on Xbox. Can you name them in order now, going down from Halo?
Okay.
For bonus points.
So Halo, Forza, Kinect, Gears, and Sea of Thieves. I'm going to go Gears next, Forza after that, Connect, Adventures, Sea of Thieves.
Okay, let's see how you did. Gears of War is in fact number 2 at 41 million.
Okay.
Connected Ventures is number 3 at 24 million, followed by Forza at 16 million and Sea of Thieves at 15 million.
Okay, I feel pretty good about that. I only switched up 3 and 4. That's not bad. That Connect one, I wasn't quite sure where to place that. I didn't know, but I knew it was a bundled thing, but I didn't know how high it rose. But I can feel good about that.
Yeah, it's definitely the stick in the spokes to throw you off.
Yeah, I want to know what the average play time for that game is.
But also the other interesting thing is how well Sea of Thieves did. Like that.
Yeah, it's
good for them and Rare.
It's probably the biggest success that Xbox has had this entire generation, I would say. I mean, it quietly just chugs along. People love it. It's just, if you're into it or not.
Okay. Cool. All right. I wonder if you even need the multiple choices answers for this, but if you do, I can give them. What color is infamous for being part of the giant Xbox 360 recall?
The red ring of death. That red ring of death.
Mm-hmm. Are you sad about that your beloved Xbox had such a blemish on its career?
That was I guess I've always been a PlayStation guy, but I feel like my PlayStation stance really started with the PS3, so now fuck the Xbox 360, dude. That thing was overrated. It was wasn't it 50% of Xboxes experienced that? Or something like that.
Yeah, mine did. Yeah, I remember I had to send it in for it. So
what percent of Xboxes got the red ring of death? Let me see.
It's also
54.2%. Oof. Oof.
Well, I mean that's who. How do you know how many people that just went and bought a new Xbox when it happened who didn't even report it, right? But
I would imagine Microsoft has some data on that or maybe just a console that just never gets connected to a network again. But yeah.
But I also do want to point out this defined consoles in the future. Not Microsoft, not Sony ever wanted to go through this ever after this, so when people complain about how big the PlayStation 5 is, it's this very reason. The red ring of death was caused by overheating. This is the same thing. Why you have such a big bulky PlayStation 5 right now is because they were really worried about that happening. So that's because not only from just a optics and PR standpoint how much that would suck, but just financially, I would imagine Microsoft was probably the only company that could have went through what they did and just be able to absorb the cost of that to continue making consoles in the future. Because the amount of resources to have all your customers send that shit in, employ the people to fix it, get them all shipped back out, man. That's just a lot of sunken cost. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of sunken costs.
So again, that's why we're all for competition. I mean, John really, really, really loves Xbox, but I like them because they make Sony better. So.
You're hilarious.
All right, we're on to question number 4.
Okay.
When did the Xbox platform first launch? When did that first console come out? Was it 2001? Was it 2003? Was it 1999? Or was it 2005?
2001, 2005, 2003. Is this 2001? 2003 or 2001? The PS2 was 2000, so 2001. 2001. Yep, pretty sure.
Oh, yeah, you're correct.
Yeah,
you're on fire.
Yeah, man, I am truly an Xbox elite.
All right, let's see. Can he shoot 100%? Let's see if he can get this last question right. So, question number 5. How many studios does Xbox have? Pre-purchase of Activision Blizzard. Do they have 15? Mm-hmm. Do they have 21? Do they have 23 or do they have 30?
Ooh, it's one of the middle two. One of the middle two. I know it's in the 20s. I'm gonna go with 23.
Wow, look at John.
Yeah,
He is the next spot.
I am. Phil Spencer, man, we're gonna become best friends.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow,
Okay.
100%. Look at me. Look at me. I do know a thing or two about video games.
And you call yourself a PlayStation fan. I'm beginning to question that now.
Hey, hit me with the PlayStation quiz next week. We'll see. Except you're gonna make it way harder to prove a point.
All right, so now we can move into a topic that John is aware about and is about PlayStation. Finally, we can stop teasing him for a minute here for one topic.
Yes.
But we briefly touched on this in past episodes, but the PlayStation blog launched a article that talked about the 13 unmissable games launching in the second half of 2023. So they highlighted and handpicked 13 games that are coming out in this jam-packed second half of the year that they deem unmissable. But you know, especially John, who doesn't like PlayStation, but me, we're gonna take PlayStation to task to see if they chose the correct 13, and if they in fact did pick 13 unmissable games. Some of these games are going to be really easy because we've talked about them on the show. We've talked about how much we love them and how excited we are for them. So a lot of these will just be like, yeah, they picked right. But there are some curveballs here. So let's see if they did in fact pick 13 unmissable games. And the very first one is Immortals of Avium, coming August 22nd from Electronic Arts. This is the first-person magic game where you play as a battle mage. It was featured in the PlayStation Showcase. It was featured in Summer Game Fest. So we've seen it quite a few times. John, is this an unmissable game?
Nah, this one you can miss. I think people will have. There's going to be a lot of people that enjoy it, but I would expect this is kind of a middling, 80s level kind of game that is going to have a lot of cool things about it. Just looking at the screenshot that they put on the blog, there's a lot of cool things about it, right? Who doesn't like firing a big laser beam from their hand? But just based on some of the gameplay we've seen of it, it looks a little slow and sluggish, which kind of surprised me when we first saw it. So I think this one is allowed to be missed by people, but it could be a surprise good game, I suppose. But no, I wouldn't sweat it if you can't make time for this one.
Sure, I am with you on that. I think this is. I don't know. It could be good, but I do think it is unmissable at this point in time is very questionable. So I'm going to say.
Yeah, I mean, EA is this isn't the EA from back in the day, right? This is new EA. They're kind of pretty good at these single player games now. At least the teams that they own. You think of Respawn and whatnot, but this is from Ascendant Studios. Which Nick, is this their first game? I'm not sure if I know that.
Yes, it is.
It is. Okay, so obviously always up in the air when it comes to that then, but I don't know. It seems like EA does have some good leadership at the top. They have a good structure and a good plan for their business. So, this could just be another studio that's going to push the single player games forward. So we'll keep an eye on it, but don't sweat it, as we said, if you can't play it.
Yeah, correct. All right, the next game, Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. We talked about it last week. This is probably an unmissable game. John for sure. I'm waiting to play it.
I think this is going to be an unmissable one. I think, despite Nick, I know you're a little unsure. I have so much faith in From Software, and similar to what I was just kind of saying about EA, I just think the leadership team at the top of that studio would not settle for anything less than the caliber of games that they've been putting out in the last 10 years. So even if it's not, your Souls-like game that you would come to expect from that team, I expect a very high-quality product that's going to be fun and customizable. There might be some shitty missions here or there, but I expect to see awesome boss fights, cool environments, big, open, kind of environment to explore, and I know I'm excited for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a safe pick to say it is unmissable.
Yes.
Moving on, we have Goodbye Volcano High coming August 29th from Co-op. This is an indie game, a narrative indie game in which you play a bunch of dinosaurs in high school, and they have to deal with their impending extinction. We've brought this up before. I'm trying to remember in what context. We have talked about this game. I'm sure it showed up somewhere in some showcase.
Yeah, it's been floating around for a long time. I think it was first shown off in either 2020 or maybe even before that, but it's been delayed a couple times. There was also some sort of weird knockoff game that came out like a year or so ago that was like a direct ripoff of it that, I think there was some legal action and things like that. But so it's always floated around the news cycle, but this game, I would say, is unmissable if you're the type of person that listens to music while you stare at your shoes. That if you're kind of into... What does that mean? It's like, like if you listen to this trailer, man, it's like that Smiths kind of music that's like it's very just melodramatic and just kind of quiet and like everything's so dramatic, and I don't know. I think this game is going to the art style is very distinct. It's very pretty, lots of sharp lines. Like it's going to play like there's probably going to be a good story following here. It's an interesting dynamic that you have this high school of dinosaurs, and they literally know the end of the world is coming. So you can't really make higher stakes than that. But I don't know. I'm just gonna say it. I would judge you if you have this on your home screen. It's not. It's not. It's an interesting one, but not for me.
It's really going to be about the writing on this one. So, and again, it's an unproven studio. So, who knows?
Yeah,
who knows? But I would say it could be missable. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not.
I think this will be for a very specific type of person, and it's probably going to be high quality, but yeah, not for everyone.
Yep. All right, next is Sea of Stars, coming August 29th. We talked about it last week. It's coming to PlayStation Plus Extra. This is, in fact, a unmissable game.
Yes, this is absolutely unmissable, and luckily for all of us PlayStation fans that are subscribed to Extra, you will not miss it. In fact, you will have it ready to download on that same day. I don't know if you have anything more to say about this game, Nick, but I'm pretty sure I've spoken my mind about it. Gorgeous art. Can't wait to play it.
Yeah, very true. So they're right on that one. That is definitely unmissable. Next up is a game that's been taking over the internet this week, Baldur's Gate 3, coming September 6th to PS5, but is currently out on PC and has taken over the internet. It's the number one game on Twitch. All the sites are constantly writing about it. I believe it did get an open critic score. John, I think we were right on this one. I
think you nailed it, right? You bullseyed that one, I do believe.
Yeah, it's at a 92 right now. So again, top reviewed game of the year up there. Not Legend Tears of the Kingdom, but a lot of reviews haven't come out yet. So we'll see.
Yeah, this definitely could the score. I would say the score is more likely to increase than probably decrease once we start to see scores come out. This game. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say my only concern is how this is gonna play on PlayStation. I've been watching people stream it on Twitch, and one guy was in the inventory screen just trying to barter with a merchant, and I was like, that is insane to play with on a controller. Like the amount of crap you pick up and have to sort through. I was like, I really hope this is streamlined to play on a controller.
Yeah, I expect it to be pretty good. Divinity never had any complaints when it came to that. So Larian at least has had some experience getting these games to work on consoles effectively. I will admit too, though, Nick, I was like, I wonder if I should try and set up a PC and look at the specs and play this on with a mouse. Because it's got to be such a better experience, but it's always good when a game comes out and it lives up to the hype that it has. Baldur's Gate 2 is one of the most famous RPG games of all time. It came out all the way back in the year 2000, so 23 years later to get a sequel to that from a studio as highly skilled as Larian is always exciting, and it seems like people are just devouring this game. The amount of insane things that you can do just from a role-playing standpoint, this really is the D&D experience that I think, D&D lovers have been waiting for. So definitely Unmissable if you are willing to put in the effort and are not easily intimidated.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm still on the fence, but I probably.
Oh, you're getting it. Shut up. You're getting it. It's gonna be it's gonna be the Street Fighter 6 situation. You're gonna be like,
it really is already. I mean, I'm watching it on Twitch, which is already a bad sign. It's like, ooh.
Yep. They're both 92s. You can't. Yeah. And I'll probably be right there with you at some point.
Yeah. All right. So we're moving into September now, or that game was in September, so we're already in September. But coming September 14th is the Crew Motorfest from Ubisoft, the next entry in the Crew series. This is a free open world driving game. So obviously your mileage will vary on that type of video game, which is not my thing. So this will be a miss for me. But any interest on your end, John?
No, I gotta admit, I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to what the Crew actually is. I know it's the open world driving game, but is it like Forza Horizon, or is it more like race oriented? I'm kind of unsure of what this even is, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I would say that. I watched the presentation at Ubisoft Forward this summer, and it is very much like a Forza Horizon. Like in that light, that's really good for PlayStation owners, right? They don't have access to Forza Horizon or really much arcade racers in general. So this could be a great game on PlayStation. This could actually do very well. But again, driving's not my thing, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching I just pulled up Crew 2 into YouTube, and the first thing I saw was a drive from Detroit to Las Vegas, and it takes him 25 minutes. So I don't know, that could be kind of cool if they can take the time. It'd be really interesting to get this type of game with the Asobo team involved. The guys who do Microsoft Flight Simulator, to have some sort of ultra realistic road landscape, but. I don't know, man. The first Crew reviewed at a 62. The second Crew reviewed at a 66. I don't know. This it's definitely missable for me. It might be something, like you said, a good game for the people that are only on PlayStation and want this kind of experience. But I think they need to really up the level of quality to get into the unmissable level.
Okay. All right.
I'm just gonna play Forza Horizon on my beloved Xbox
that's right,
Series
yeah.
X.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I'll just play that instead.
How did I miss that? That dig into you. All right. So moving on, we're on to Mortal Kombat 1, a game we've talked about again multiple times on this show, coming September 19th from NetherRealm and Warner Brother Games. This is a game that, due to that Combat Pack 1 that we talked about last week, is missable on September 19th, but maybe a year from then is unmissable. Yeah. After all those characters have come out.
Yeah, I think this is a really easy one. This is unmissable if you're a fighting fan. I mean, straight up. If you're not a fighting fan, whatever. But, this seems to be, top-notch. Fighting games, I think, are having a very much of a renaissance period. So, we'll see if NetherRealm can keep stride with Capcom or if it's just kind of more of the same. But like you said, with the Combat Pack and the people, the characters that are in this game, I think it's going to be a lot of fun for the people who like fighting games.
Yeah. That is definitely apparent. And it's EVO this week, isn't it? Weekend.
I don't know that, but I know it's always in August, so you're probably correct. Yep, August 4th, August 6th. Yeah, it's going on right now.
So there'll probably be some Mortal Kombat news this weekend. So, all right.
Where is EVO? Is that in Vegas? Where is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's in Vegas. Okay.
All right. Moving on, probably the weirdest one of this whole list, Eternights. Eternights? Eternights?
I would say it starts like Eternal, so it's got to be Eternights. Yeah.
Eternights. Coming September 21st from Studio Psy. This looks to be a JRPG that is trying to channel as much Persona as possible. Mm-hmm. There is a big focus on bonds with other characters and love interest, and then some kind of third-person fighting, it looks like. But what do you think, John? Is Eternights unmissable?
This is very much a wait-and-see review kind of game. I mean, when I first opened this list to look through them, this was the one that stood out. I was like, really? You're going to put this one on the list? But then I did open up a trailer, and like you said, Nick, saw the evident Persona likenesses. They even have the date thing going on in the top right corner. So you're going on this calendar type system. But it seems like it's trying to do the Persona thing, but with some action RPG combat. It's definitely going to be on the mature side. In the trailer, there's even like a little cutscene where a guy's arm gets chopped off and there's blood flying everywhere. So it's not going to be super kid friendly, but I think it could come out and could surprise people. Again, Studio Sai, this is their first game, so nothing to really go on with that. But I think it has potential, but as of right now, not unmissable.
Correct. I agree with you.
I like that you're like giving me like, oh, yes, you're correct or incorrect on these. It's like you have like a list in front of you that says unmissable or missable next to each one.
Going off a lot of these are just your gut feeling, right? Like you don't have a lot to go on unless it's an obvious returning franchise or, an obvious, big game. But all right, speaking of big games, we have the next entry in the Assassin's Creed franchise, Assassin's Creed Mirage, coming in October 12th to be specific, coming from Ubisoft. Now this was going to be yet another expansion for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but they decided to break it off into its own game, so that's why this is a $50 Assassin's Creed game. John, is this game in fact unmissable? It looks to be channeling the old Assassin's Creed original, the very, 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 very first game, 20 entries ago. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it's possible for a game in the Assassin's Creed franchise at this day and age to be unmissable. There's just simply too many of them. But at least it is going back to that original formula, on modern day consoles. It's kind of a bummer. It's coming to PS4 also. It would have been nicer to see, what does Assassin's Creed look like truly on next gen, since this will be the second game in the Assassin's Creed franchise on PS5 that is both on PS4, which is kind of a bummer. But no, I think it'll be interesting to see. Can Ubisoft go back to this style of game, and does it have room to live alongside the modern formula, or is this just going to be kind of a one-off thing? But no, I'm not really too eager to jump into this one, but I know there's probably a ton of people that are, since every single Assassin's Creed is absolutely huge. So not unmissable for me, but it's
one of my biggest problems with the most recent trilogy of Assassin's Creed games was their length. Like how long they are. So maybe like a shorter, smaller experience that this is presenting to be could be really fun. And with Ubisoft games, a month from this game's release, it'll be at least $20 off.
Oh, this is Black Friday bait, dude. If it's $50 on launch, it's going to be 20 on Black Friday. 20,
right, exactly.
Maybe 30, but yeah. If you can wait a little bit, for sure.
Yeah, and as we'll get into the upcoming games after this, is like, you might as well wait till Black Friday because it's got a lot of hot games on its heels. So, speaking of games right on the heels of Assassin's Creed Mirage, Alan Wake 2 is coming October 17th from Remedy Entertainment. We have talked about this game a lot on this show. It's the sequel to Alan Wake 1, in which you play as Alan Wake and a new character, Saga Anderson, in which you have parallel narrative stories in which you're trying to figure out what is going on. What is all this insanity? It is a third-person survival game, as I'd put it, in the same vein of Resident Evil and Dead Space, but it definitely has a giant mystery attached to it. But as we talked about on this very show, this is a digital-only game. You cannot get a physical copy of it. But John, is this in fact an unmissable game?
Yeah, I think this one will be unmissable. I never played the first Alan Wake, so I don't have that frame of reference, but I've heard the story about it, or the story of it is what makes it kind of special. The gameplay feels very dated, so bringing the controls to modern day with the level of story that they wrote with the first one could be a really cool experience. I love the Pacific Northwest as a setting. I just think that's a really cool place, as especially if you're going to add some horror ties to it. But Yeah, we'll see if this one can kind of bring a close to one of the greatest years in survival horror years, or one of the greatest survival horror years in memory. And it seems like everybody who's talking about this game is very excited, has high expectations. So I'm kind of feeding off of that and think it will be unmissable, especially coming out around Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. That it's the right time of year to have a horror game come out because we're all in the mood for spooky things. So, but it does have one giant problem, and that is 3 days later, Marvel Spider-Man 2 is out. Do we even need to talk about it?
No, it's unmissable. Move on.
Yeah. All right. Next, we're moving on to November, and that is Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, coming from Sega. This is coming November 9th. Again, this is another side entry in the Yakuza, now Like a Dragon franchise. We're going back to Kiryu Kazuma this time. And, John, yeah, what do you think about this one?
I think that... I don't know. I don't really know what to think about this one because the Yakuza franchise has blown up in the past, 5 to 10 years over here in the West. It's always been a big series over in Japan, but it seems like they really hit their stride with Yakuza 0, I want to say, when they did the prequel, and then everybody's like, oh, what is this franchise? And so to see it, kind of evolve into what it is now, which is that turn-based thing with Like a Dragon? Is that just what it's called, Yakuza Like a Dragon? Like the turn-based one?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with that, it's really starting to evolve. So to go back to its original roots with a next-gen version is exciting, but I kind of expect this to be a smaller experience. So if you're somebody who really is into the character of Kiryu Kazuma, it may be unmissable, but I don't know if it's going to have a lot of relevance going forward in the series. And being that it is a smaller side game, I could see it just being something that is there for the people who really, really like Yakuza, but if you're not crazy about it, I think there's going to be other things to play at this time of year, probably. But I think it will be high quality.
Oh, for sure. And I'm glad you mentioned its relevance in this series, because if it is a prequel of sorts to Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, the eighth official entry in this franchise, as someone who did loved Like a Dragon, Yakuza Like a Dragon. God, this naming convention is confusing.
Yeah, they're getting confusing. I don't like it. I mean, I understand why they switched it, but I don't like it.
That it might be nice to come back for me, to come back to this, because it is a little different than all the games we've listed before. Like I keep on saying Yakuza. Like a Dragon is so unique, and the characters are so weird and interesting that that this could come back, and I could come back to this franchise to get ready for the next one and really love this game. But I don't think I'll be coming back on November 9th. It'll be a watch game, because as we've mentioned on this very show, every one of these Yakuza games has come to PlayStation Plus Extra or Essentials at this point. Right. So, this game could easily be added in the lead up to Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. So I would say it might be unmissable, but it is missable for November 9th.
All I want though is high review scores, as it's in my fantasy league. So
oh yeah.
So that's all I care about with that one.
Okay. All right. Well, we made it to the finish line. Our last game coming December 7th, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, coming from Ubisoft. We have talked about this when we talked about the E3 season and Ubisoft Forward. This is basically a Far Cry game with the Avatar paint job, as we've said previously. But John, how do you feel about it now that we're 2 months from we last saw it? Do you still feel kind of stronger about this than we did when it was initially announced? And do you deem it unmissable?
I do feel stronger about it than when it was originally announced. I think it will be, it's going to be a fun time. I think the world is going to be, pretty cool and interesting. It's just, they can get really fucking wacky with it. You got floating islands and mountains in the skies and crazy things. But I gotta admit, Nick, I don't think there's any possible way that I could put a Ubisoft open world game in my unmissable category until it comes out and they can show me that this is something fresh or new or original or something. Like if it's Far Cry Avatar, then that's cool, and I'll probably want to play it when it's a little bit cheaper, but for it to truly be unmissable, Ubisoft needs to show me some sort of evolution in their formula, and I don't know when that's going to happen or if it ever will happen, but that's kind of what I'm looking for to get into that unmissable level.
Yeah. And again, this was my pick for a delayed game as well, so I wonder if it'll even come out this year, but it's one to watch for sure, but I don't know about saying unmissable. I think also your interest in the franchise as well will factor in there, and I'm just not. I haven't even seen the last movie, so.
No, I haven't either. I don't know. I started it and I was just like, I gotta be in the right mood for this, man. It was immediately just like blue people all over the place, and I was like, my sensory overload. So, but I feel like that is a great world to lend itself to video games. So I'm sure it'll be fun.
Yep. All right. So that's it. We did all 13 games. Again, we don't think the entire list is unmissable, but I think we'll agree that it is a very good list, and we're at least watching all 13 games.
So it was Armored Core, Sea of Stars, Baldur's Gate 3, Alan Wake, and Spider-Man. Those are your unmissable games.
Those are
definitely all games not a bad second half.
This year. So the rest of them possibly, but again, it's a really solid list. You can't argue.
I'll be curious to see if you can finish Baldur's Gate. I want to see how quickly if you pick it up and get into it. Because I was impressed with your Persona 5 time. I think that took you like a month. It wasn't as long as I thought. So I'm curious to see if Baldur's Gate does the same thing. If you just get so sucked into like the side stuff. Because I imagine it's a game that you can beat in probably 80 to 100 hours, but you could easily spend probably 400 to 500 hours in there just going through and doing crazy things. So curious to see.
It'll be interesting too with that, like again, that time period, right? I'm definitely gonna be checking out Sea of Stars. I don't know how long that is. Will you come to me and say you have to play Armored Core 6? And then Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty is 3 weeks later.
Ooh,
so
I forgot about that one.
Which was not on this list, but also one of my most anticipated games of fall. So
you're gonna smoke that game though. I bet when that game comes out, you devour it and have it done within a week or two. Would be my guess.
That's true.
So we'll see. But all right. Well, we reached the point of the show, Nick, that your attacks and your mockings are going to finally show themselves. But bringing a game today, guys, I finally decided that I was going to kind of just reinvest myself into the Xbox ecosystem after beating Final Fantasy 16. I thought, now's a good time to check out some of the things that have been on Game Pass that I've haven't been able to. I had the $1 monthly trial thing, so I was like, well, for $1, why not? And so first on the list, I had to check it out. It came out January 23rd of this year, shadow dropped from Tango Gameworks, the studio that is most famously spearheaded by Shinji Mikami, creator of Resident Evil. They decided they wanted to do a drastic 180 and release one of the most joyful, fun, colorful video gamey games I've played in a while. And Nick, I'm sure you know what it is. And that's Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush. I remember when this game immediately got shown, Nick was like, dude, did you see this thing? And I was like, yeah, I don't know, it looks fine. And you're like, what are you talking about? You're an idiot. And yep, you were right. You were right, Nick. This game is just pure joy. So to kind of set it up a little bit, you play as Chai, who is kind of this early 20s, cool and calm protagonist dude who's just always got something quippy and funny to say. He basically gets a mechanical arm attached to him by this mega company, Vandalay Industries, who definitely acts as the protagonist company of the story. But early on, we find out that this arm kind of gives him this extra power where he is able to almost summon parts all around him that forms this guitar type weapon that he can wield to start attacking robots. And obviously the thing that stands out most about this game is its combat system. It's really kind of cool what they do. It's all entirely rhythm based. So while you're going throughout the level, there's this constant beat driving 4. For the music people out there, it's just this like 4/4 time, right? You just think bop, 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 bop. And you got a little like sidekick cat character who's got a flashing light that kind of shows on. You can hit a button that shows another meter underneath you so you can kind of get your timing down. But as you start to see all the timing in the world, you incorporate that into your combat. So you have a light attack button that acts as a single beat type of attack, and then you have a heavy attack button that acts as once every 2 beats, right? So if you do light, 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 you would get 4 attacks in that 4/4 time signature. If you do heavy, you're gonna get 1, 2, right? Does that make sense, Nick?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So as you go through these in combat encounters, the game really starts to encourage you to just mix in different combinations. So, for instance, if you do force combination, and it's going to kind of end with a specific attack. If you do light, heavy, heavy, that'll do a different thing. Heavy, light, light, that'll do a different thing. And then you start to incorporate a little bit more complex ones. Like you might get a light, heavy, light, light, light. And as you start to do these different attacks, you're going to increase your damage output, right? If you're able to do a variety of combinations, you're going to increase your damage output as well as increase your score. You're constantly getting scored in this game, very much like a Devil May Cry, where it's evaluating your combat on a letter grade system. You start out as a C, B, A, all the way up to an S. So as you perform different combinations, it increases that, and it always just feels good to, get up to that S level where you're kind of just in this flow state, really doing a lot of cool different combinations. But one thing that adds an extra layer to the combat is it has a system called just timing. And so as you pull off all these different combos, after one beat after the end of that combo, you're going to get a ring that's going to kind of appear in the middle of the screen. It's going to start to shrink. And there's a green little area that if you hit another attack button in that area, it's going to pull off a just timing, and it's basically an extra attack that's going to give you even more damage. So it adds an extra layer to that. On top of all this, with that beat system that's going on, you don't have to be exactly on beat to attack an enemy. You could, in fact, be completely off beat and you're still going to attack. But what's cool is if you can hit the beats, you're going to get like... the crowd's going to start cheering you on. Your damage output's going to be increased. So there's all this level of nuance to it that kind of lets it... that lets you really feel like you either do a really, really good job through a combat encounter or you do a really, really bad job. And more, it's honestly a pretty forgiving system. So more often than not, you're going to be doing a good job, and it just feels really, really good. But the game overall, besides these combat systems, it's pretty simple, quite honestly, where you're going through these 12 stages. At the end of each stage, you're kind of encountering a boss. You have your combat encounter. You go through a very, very linear corridor, collecting currency along the way. It's kind of a very PS2 level design of like those Jak and Daxter kind of games, or Ratchet and Clank, where there might be a little hidden area here or there that's going to have a piece of a health icon that's going to level up your health, or it might level up your special meter, things like that. But it's really not that complex on that level. What really makes the game shine is the interesting combat, and then just like I said from the top, the charm and joyfulness that they put into this game. Incredibly bright colors, cool antagonists that are way over the top, but in the best of ways, and genuinely funny dialogue. I'm coming across little journals throughout the world, and every single one of them is actually quite funny. I'm giggling and chuckling most of my time through it. So gotta say, I'm obviously really enjoying my time with it. It's probably the first example of a game on Xbox that I'm pretty bummed is not on PlayStation. Nick, I think I told this to you at work, but I might actually just bring my Xbox to work and make you take it home, because I really think this is going to be a game that you will love. It's just a quick 10-hour experience, no DLC, single player. You get in, you get out, you have fun, and I'm tapping my feet the whole way through. So, I'm definitely look forward to beating the whole thing, and then move on to maybe some other Game Pass games.
Yeah, I'm not a traitor, John, so I'm not touching that Xbox. But
You are. You won't be able to resist.
But yes, all the way back in January when this game Shadow dropped, I admitted on this show that, I don't have very much FOMO when it comes to Xbox, especially over the last, 5 or 6 years. But this was the first case of like, oh, wow, I really want to play that game. Mm-hmm. So, and it's not surprising. Like, the game looks incredible that you're having such a great time with it. Do you find the game difficult at all? Like, is it hard?
That's an interesting question. It's hard to say because I feel like I'm now getting to the point of the game where the encounters are getting a little bit tough. Like early on, the first 3 levels, I would classify this as an easy game. But I just got to a level last night where I got into this random mob encounter, and they kind of destroyed me very, very quickly. And I was a little taken aback. But as I went back into the encounter, I kind of thought, okay, well, the game is probably now getting to the point where it's needing me to incorporate the systems on a high level that they've kind of been telling me instead of just being able to kind of button mash my way through. There's even more depth to the combat that I didn't mention. For instance, you're kind of part of this ragtag group that's trying to take down this Vandelay Industries. And as I mentioned, you have a little sidekick cat with you. He's a robot. And your team is able to basically incorporate their personality into this robot and almost phase shift into combat with you. So you have a girl who is you're able to hit the right trigger, and she pops in and uses like a laser gun to take down shields that are on enemies that you can't penetrate otherwise. You have this big hulking Barrett kind of guy from Final Fantasy VII who comes in and he smashes dudes that have this armor attached to them that, again, you can't penetrate unless if you use it. So you're having to kind of start to incorporate these things a little bit more, and it is now getting to the point where I can't go through it mindlessly, but it's somewhere in the middle. It's a medium level game as of now.
Okay. And do you think this game has a chance of being a nominee for Game of the Year? It is one of the higher reviewed games of the year so far. Do you think it'd have a chance? I believe, is there six games they usually choose?
Yeah, usually 6.
Do you think
I think
it'll be one
Hi-Fi
of those
Rush.
6?
I think Hi-Fi Rush came out at a bad year for that.
Yeah.
I think in a normal year, I think back to 2021 when the Game of the Year nominees were It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Returnal, I believe, a couple of other ones of those. I think it would get nominated in a year like that. But in a year with Baldur's Gate 3, Tears of the Kingdom, Resident Evil 4, Dead Space, Starfield, Spider-Man 2, Sea of the Stars, I don't think it makes the cut. But it'll definitely get some nominations in other categories. Art style, for sure. Maybe some character work or things like that.
Yeah. There's too many good games. I agree, but it has a chance. We're assuming a lot of other games will review well this year. If any of those slip, it could sneak its way in.
It could. I mean, and it again, it doesn't feel budget by any means. It's a high quality game, but I could see some people knocking against it. Just like I said, it's a 10-hour experience, 12 levels. You go in, you get out. Mm-hmm. While I love that. I love that about this game because as a dad of 3, I'm not able to get through as many games as I want. Mm-hmm. I could see some people being like, well, it's more of a budget experience, and it's like, so those people are wrong.
But they're gonna approach Dead Space and Resident Evil 4, which are the other top reviewed games of the year. If they even get a nominee, or because of their remake status, do they not fit the bill?
Did Demon Souls remake or Shadow of the Colossus remake? I wondered. I don't think either of those got nominations.
Did RE2? Did RE2 remake?
RE2 remake? I don't know. I don't know if it did. I can definitely see the people who vote on this to even if it's not disqualified, to just kind of have this air of like, well, I'm going to honor something new instead. Kind of thing about it. So. But yeah, I don't know. Either way, man, it's pretty awesome. I'm halfway through. I'm on level 5 of 12. So, got a little bit of ways to go, but hope to have it beaten here soon. Because I got other games on Game Pass I want to check out too.
Point, Resident Evil 2 was a Game of the Year nominee, so
it was okay.
Yeah, so
no. It'll probably, for Resident Evil 4, I'll probably get it then. Maybe even Dead Space.
Yeah, so not looking good for Hi-Fi Rush, but nonetheless, a very great game. They give that again, came out of nowhere. You know, like that's awesome. So
yeah, and one final point here. So just the other games I have an eye on from Game Pass. You know, that if I get through this, I know, gross, but I'm a fan of video games, Nick. All right, I don't see consoles. I love all video games, but Pentiment, I'm really eager to check out. I just popped into it just to kind of see how it played, because I know it's heavy narrative, but love the art style. Weirdly am into the 1500s setting, because it's just such a blank spot in history that, you know, it all seems so weird and kind of almost like it never actually happened. It seems so fantasy and fake. It's a weird thing. But I want to check out Pentiment. Signalis, which is a PS1 inspired survival horror looking game that looks cool. And then obviously when Starfield comes out next month, I'll check that out as well, hopefully. But yeah, so pretty cool stuff.
Xbox podcast it is.
Yeah, video games podcast, Nick. All right. So next up, Nick, are we doing the movie or the game? I can't remember.
You pick whatever one you want.
All right.
What do you feel like talking about next?
We're gonna talk about the game. So
okay.
It's a light news week, guys, and you know what Nick and I usually do on our lunch breaks at work is we usually watch a show. You know, we're gonna check out something amazing like Breaking Bad, or we just recently watched Barry, but we decided that, well, there's really no shows out that we really are eager to watch. So I made the comment at work that I've never beaten Sonic the Hedgehog 1. And Nick goes, well, let's do it. And then we remember that we have this like Raspberry Pi thing where we have literally every retro game you could possibly imagine. So we decided to jump into Sonic 1, see if we could get through it. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So for those who don't know, if you don't know this, you're kind of an insane person, but Sonic was originally released on the Sega Genesis in the Mega Drive in 1991. I would say it's easily the most important IP in Sega history. This was the start of the console wars, really. Sega can what Nintendo don't, things like that. But going back to this game now, Nick, is this a good game? Like, straight up, is this a good game? How would you answer that question?
Is Sonic a good franchise is a great question in general. And I think that lends well to this game because it's a game all about going fast. Like, your character can get up to a very high speed on the screen, but it has also some of the most frustrating platforming, enemies, level design.
This game feels mean. It feels mean almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like I when I think back to Sonic, I think a lot of us just inherently think of Sonic 2. Sonic 2, in my opinion, is a great game. And it's kind of shocking to see the differences between 1 and 2, because if you just look at the games, it's like, oh, these are the same thing. It's just different levels. But I go back to Sonic 1 and I forget, oh my God, I don't have a ground dash. And you know how much this game sucks without a ground dash? Whether you're on a stupid little incline that you can't run up because he wants to go at the speed of a snail. He's supposed to be the fastest little thing alive, but he can't run up a hill. And if you jump, you just jump backwards because you're on an incline. Or the knockback that happens in goddamn Marble Zone Act 3, where you're trying to jump on these platforms and you have to hit these, really tiny areas, but Sonic is the slipperiest character ever, and there's knockback involved, and it's just, it really... Kids today don't know how hard games were back in the day, and it really kind of does show this idea of this era of games where developers were almost still employing this arcade style, thought process to games, where it's like, we need to make these hard, we need to make them, want to put in another quarter. It's all life based, horrible checkpoint systems, restarting levels. It's nostalgic in a way, but man, I am so happy that we moved past this.
And there's no saving.
I don't know.
If we run out of lives, it was game over. You start the whole game over. So if you worked hard to get to the final zone and died there, well, too bad. You got to start all over again. So.
Oh my God, does that feel bad? That's why, luckily for us, with this Raspberry Pi, we have save states. So we're currently what, Labyrinth Act
Zone
3,
4.
which is the infamous underwater level in Sonic 1. So we're almost done with that one, but I imagine we'll beat it next week. But I don't know, man. I have a hard time saying that this is a good game. Like I think Sonic 2 is great.
Did you?
But
now, when you were introduced to this franchise, did you play Sonic 2 first?
No. I don't know. That's a hard question.
Because
got a
Sonic
Genesis
1
when I
was
was
the
probably
initial pack-in, but by the time
Yeah.
I got a Sega Genesis, Sonic 2 was the pack-in. So I was introduced to Sonic 2 first.
Yeah, it's so hard because I was born in 1989, so I think I got a Genesis when I was 5 or 6. So I would imagine at that time it was probably the Sonic 2 pack-in, but I do remember having both, and I remember them both being a major part of my childhood, and so my instinct is to say that, yeah, of course I played Sonic 1 first, but maybe I didn't. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's a rough one. It's not horrible. There's really good, like the music in the Sonic series. I've really started to get an appreciation for in the last month or so, because Sonic 2 is just so good. Every single one of those tracks is awesome, as we showed on the show a couple weeks back. Oh crap! I have to pick the song this week, don't I? Oh no!
Don't worry,
all right,
I got you covered.
All right, yeah, my guy. But the music is great. It was doing something. It looked top notch at that level. But when I start to think about you compare Sega Genesis to Super Nintendo, and you're like, are we really comparing Sonic to Mario 3 or Mario World? It's not even close. Mm-hmm. Not even close. But I'm happy we went back to play it. It is. Being that I've beaten Sonic 2 so much, I should go back and play Sonic 1. So I don't know, Nick. Do you think we should keep going and playing some of these old games, kind of going forward, and maybe just talking about them every once in a while, or just kind of when we're feeling it?
I think again is if it's a slow news week, and again it's slow as far as television shows. I'm fine with introducing these games and going back. Even like you've been talking how good Sonic 2 is. I'd like to just go back and let's see how good it is after we complete Sonic 1 and kind of get that perspective. Because I'm like you. I think Sonic 2 is one of the greatest games of all time. We put it in our top 50 list. So it'd be great to go back and play a bunch of games.
I
am
convinced.
If you're listening and you want us to go back and play a specific game, we can do that too. Yeah. So,
Jesse, what should we play, Jesse?
Yeah.
Let us know. I agree. We should do that. We should do that. And I am convinced. I really think it's just the ground dash. I think that's all that makes it go from a shitty game to an awesome game. Ground dash. That's all I need.
Maybe we'll check in. We'll see if that is in fact the difference. So, but
something
I'm with
that
you. It is. I think you can love the game, right? That's for sure. But I don't to say that it's infallible is incredible.
No chance.
You got to have a little bit of self-awareness of how those games played. So.
Well, and it is. I agree. We should go back and play Sonic 2, because I'm even just trying. I'm thinking of Marble Zone right now, and just how the environments of that level look, and it's just gray bricks and lava, and it's it is pretty basic as shit. And then you think of Sonic 2 with Hilltop Zone or Mystic Cave Zone, and it's these are cool environments with moving pieces and or Oil Ocean Zone where you're going and bouncing around in those little shooty shoot things. There is a lot more to it, but Sonic 1. I'm going to beat you and then probably never play you again.
Fair enough.
But
fair enough.
On to the last topic, Nick, and this is a big moment. This is unprecedented for the show, and really kind of puts a point to how slow of a news week it was for us. But this is going to be the first time we bring a non-video game topic to our video game show. This has been a really kind of crazy year for movies. Obviously Nick and I are huge video game nerds, but I don't think there's many video game nerds who aren't also into movies. And so with a lot of the big budget movies that have come out recently, The Flash and Mission Impossible, a lot of them are underperforming. But we had kind of a moment of movie history over this past month with the Barbenheimer craze that has been taking over the internet, taking over movie theaters across the country. Nick did, in fact, watch Barbie, so maybe we can get a review from him next week or at another time. But Nick and I actually went together to go see Oppenheimer in IMAX 70 millimeter fashion. I am a big movie buff. I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan, and this just seemed like one of those moments that we had to go experience in theaters. So this will be spoilery, So if you have not seen Oppenheimer, I would advise to skip this part, or if you don't care about it because hey, spoiler alert, the bomb went off. Listen at your own danger is what I'm trying to say. But I guess I'll just get started here, Nick. Just my overall thoughts of the movie, if that's cool with you.
Can you just give a general description of what the movie is about?
Sure.
For those who don't know.
So J. Robert Oppenheimer is the father of the atomic bomb. This is a biopic directed by Christopher Nolan, who is the director of the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, Interstellar. So you can kind of get a feeling for his type of movies. They're very, very big, large scale type features. But this is a movie that goes over Oppenheimer's life, from the time where he spent studying quantum physics all the way to developing the atomic bomb and some of the aftermath that happened on a more political sense. So, 3-hour biopic, you kind of know that it's going to be pretty dense and a lot of dialogue and things like that. So, but also when you revolve a story around the atomic bomb, how can you not at least have that level of intrigue too on how are they going to put this to film? So, I think for me, this is a very, very good movie approaching greatness, but not quite getting there. I think that on a technical level, as Christopher Nolan always does, it's a 10 out of 10. His level of impact, I think, is what like Michael Bay kind of strives for, but it gets boring because Michael Bay's always explosions. With this movie, we knew what we were building to the whole time. And while a lot of that buildup was just kind of like, shots of the scientists or them building the city, they had to bring all these scientists together in this, barren desert area to enable to build this thing. It really showed the entire undertaking that it took for the Manhattan Project to go. But from a technical level, Christopher Nolan did a great job capturing that to film. The explosion of the bomb was awesome, in the true sense of the word. You really get that quality over quantity. I don't want to keep rambling. Maybe we should just kind of bounce back and forth here, Nick. But what are kind of your top level thoughts of the movie?
Yeah, I loved it a lot. Seeing it in IMAX 70 millimeter did do a lot for that. It was an incredible a visual spectacle. Like, it was just like, oh my God, just this whole world is just enveloping me. I'm just like, I'm right there in it all. But when you say a movie's 3 hours, you're probably like, a lot of people probably roll their eyes, right? Like, get Christopher Nolan an editor. Like, how can we condense this story? But I think the way that he directs all of his movies, they're just the way that it's paced, and I think a lot of it has to do with the quick shots and that you're jumping through different periods of time here. That I was never bored throughout the entire movie. It just kept going and going and going. I was just enthralled. I loved it a lot, and a lot of it has to do with the subject matter. Like, it kind of, I'm not too familiar with the Manhattan Project or Oppenheimer in general, so it was just great to learn about him, and the movie does a great job of just focusing on him. Maybe some people think that's maybe a negative, that it was just all about him and not the other stories that would be involved. And I don't know, creating a scientific town that's whole job was to create a nuclear device. Like, that could almost be a show, the drama that would be caused by something like that. But no, I thought it was a wonderful. Everyone, all the actors in here performed their ass off. I don't even think there was a single performance that just wasn't incredible. Even I was dating debating in my head, like, wow, Emily Blunt is in this movie and for such a tiny role. You know, she's just she doesn't get a lot of scenes to chew on. But when she does get these moments to interact with Oppenheimer, including a powerful scene later in the movie, she killed it. And
Yeah.
I mean, and Cillian Murphy killed it too. Like his performance is, he's gonna win Best Actor. I don't see how he won't. Yeah, I loved it. So it was a great time.
Yeah, I think definitely a special shout out to Cillian Murphy and I would say Robert Downey Jr. too. I think both of those guys get an Oscar nomination. I could see Emily Blunt potentially getting one for supporting actress as well. But yeah, I really like what you said about the pacing, Nick, and how for a 3-hour movie you would expect to have some lulls, but Christopher Nolan demands a lot from the viewer. You know, when you go into a Christopher Nolan movie, you need to be able to keep up with him. You know, he's going to bounce around to different time periods. He's going to change. Is this a black and white scene? Is this a colored scene? You know, there's fast-paced dialogue, lots of explanations happening at a time. And so, you know, if you're able to put that effort into it, you're going to get a lot out of it. But, you know, if you're not, you know, into that style of movie making, I could see how you could come out the other side of it and just kind of maybe not get all of the things that he was going for. And again, what you said about the show, like how the town could almost become its own show. I almost think that this almost would have been better if it was like a mini series. If they could have almost gone even more into the story, you know, to get a little bit more out of the building of the bomb, to get a little bit more out of some of the aftermath things from it. Because as I mentioned, you know, at the beginning here, spoilers, this is going to be spoilers. What they don't really show in the trailers is they get a lot into the communism and McCarthyism side of this, where there's this whole big investigation after the Manhattan Project because Oppenheimer realizes what he's done, where he's basically outspoken against nuclear energy. And during this time with the Red Scare and things like that in American history, that's kind of viewed as anti-American and therefore like, oh, are you a communist? And he gets grilled and he gets grilled and he gets ostracized and outcast from the scientific community. And like, I don't know, I wasn't really expecting a lot of that. So I was I was almost hoping for more because I feel like there is a lot more story to be told there. But I do think with repeated watchings of this movie, with putting on some subtitles, because even though I think I am an engaged viewer, there were times where I was having a hard time keeping pace with it, really understanding what was the supposed structure of the black and white scenes versus the color scenes. I've now learned that apparently black and white is through Strauss's, who is Robert Downey Jr.'s character's eyes, and then color is through Oppenheimer's eyes. I think that's the distinction. But going back and watching the movie through that again, I think is going to add a lot to it. And I could see this kind of getting up into that upper echelon of Christopher Nolan movies, you know, with the Inceptions and Dark Knights of the world. But I really liked it as well.
Yeah, I think and I think that's why this movie was titled Oppenheimer and not The Manhattan Project or something like that, because that's I think when you going into the movie, think about that, because that is really, like you said, like we weren't expecting this whole communist angle to the story, but when it was a big part of Oppenheimer's life and the friends that he hung out with, his brother was a communist. He had an affair with a woman who was a communist. Like, it was a big part of who he was. So I think it was smart to bring it. But yeah, I can understand the like, why are we so like wrapped up in this? It's like a nonstop plot point throughout the entire film. But I think it was a big part of his life and his overall ignorance. Like, he was a brilliant mind, but he couldn't see, and his whole interest in communism was from that angle. It wasn't like he really wanted a communist America or anything, but he liked some ideas that were in there, and kind of like the current political system is like, it's like you can like certain ideas from a certain other party and not have to take the whole kit and caboodle, of everything they believe. And that was his kind of downfall, because he was just so ignorant to what kind of effect that would have on his security clearance, the people around him. But I still found it really fascinating to see a brilliant man stumble to protect his communist friends, not realizing that he's walking into the Viper's den at the same time, like. But it was good. It was interesting.
Super interesting, man. And I think just the last thing I'll say is, my fucking God, dude, do I love just this stuff interests me so much. Like the nuclear side of things. Like just besides the quality of the film, who made it, who started it, I just love the idea of the atomic world and taking the tiniest things that we can possibly imagine and the amount of energy and things that can be produced from bringing those things together or pulling them apart. Like, combining all of that scientific knowledge and awesome, just awesomeness, the pure sense of the word awesome, is really, really, really interesting. And when you combine that into a movie with some of the dialogue and quotes that are being thrown around, I think of one of the things that they were worried about when they were building this bomb is they were worried that this could potentially set off a chain reaction that would continue into the atmosphere and end the entire world. There was not a 0% chance that would happen. And while, of course, that didn't happen, I believe there was a quote in the movie that said, from Oppenheimer, something along the lines of, we were worried about starting a chain reaction that leads to the end of the world, and I worry that we may have done just that.
It's the last line of the film.
Yeah, like I love that kind of stuff, and his visions of the beauty of the subatomic world and these particles flying around, but then kind of juxtaposed against these apocalyptic visions of the entire world exploding. It really did a beautiful job of kind of just showing the horrible horrificness as well as the beautiful side of that. And I believe it was Niels Bohr, who was Kenneth Branagh's character. He was like that. He was the guy that was in the room when he tried to poison his teacher. He was the other guy that he kind of worshipped. He says something like, "Can you hear the music?" And it's like the way that they kind of think of that subatomic world is just, I don't know. It does something to me in the same way that Interstellar did something to me, thinking about how time can actually be affected by mass. And it's like these high level, Christopher Nolan does a great job of taking these high level concepts and bringing them into kind of a layman's understanding to just allow you to exist in this world and kind of marvel at how awesome and crazy and scary and cool it all is.
Because that becomes a common theme, is like, Oppenheimer can see the theoretical, but he can't see the practical, the experiment itself, and that line is like foreshadowing what's to come. Is like, he can hear the music, but he can't kind of read the music, and he has a lot of people around him that show him that he's. I think there was a very early on scene where he was writing up calculations on the board because he thought there was no way. I think it was Germany would be this far in making a bomb. And then his fellow professor and students show him that it is in fact can happen, because there's the chain reaction,
Yeah.
Like, it's just a lot of great moments in the scene or moments in the movie that do that, like kind of like foreshadowing what's gonna come. And Christopher Nolan's always been good about just tying that perfect bow on a movie. Like you wonder what's the significance of this scene where Oppenheimer's talking to Albert Einstein, and it kind of sets off a lot of things in motion, especially with Robert Downey Jr.'s character, Louis Strauss, and it does a great job at the very end to tie it all together so perfectly that, Christopher Nolan knows what he's doing. God.
He does, yeah. There's a, like you said with Emily Blunt, there's a reason that when he calls actors, it doesn't matter if it's a small role or not. Like, you kind of sign up to do it. You just go. But yeah, really, really good. If I were to review it, it'd be a 4.5, 5. It'd be somewhere around there. Like I said, I want to watch it again with subtitles. I'll definitely be purchasing it on 4K when it comes out to be able to do that again. But yeah, I love Cillian Murphy. I could just watch that man do anything, and I'd be happy.
I think in repeated watching, I think your opinion is only going to go up. I think,
Yep,
with
for
this
sure.
movie. So
For sure.
But again, yeah, buckle in for another 3-hour ride. So
Yep.
yeah, I guess that's the
All
only. I guess given its length, that's the only thing that might weaken it on repeated viewings. Is like, oh right, this movie's very long, and since I already know what happens, I'm not as enthralled with it all. But I guess we'll check back in.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's not a movie you put on in the background. It's a movie that you put on maybe once every 7 or 8 years, and you make it a thing where you pop the bowl of popcorn, you turn off the lights, you sit down and you watch the whole thing. You know, it's not a casual movie, but
No.
it's awesome nonetheless.
It is. All right. Well, we did it. That is 6 things. Teases. We'll get the PlayStation Plus extra games next week for August. That'll be exciting. I'm wondering if they can keep this pace up with as many games as we've been getting. I'm wondering if this will ever get to a point where it's like 5 games a month, as we've seen with Game Pass.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, they got to hit a limit at some point, but
Yeah,
I think
finite
Sony
amount
kind
of
of
games.
Sony right now with the Activision deal gonna be, or at least the looming date of when all those games hit Game Pass, that's gonna be a big moment for Xbox. So Sony needs to make sure that, I would say at least until then, they have a very strong cadence of games coming to that. Otherwise, people are going to lose interest and then start to look to the other side. So I would expect it to keep going for a little bit, at least.
Yeah. When do you think Ragnarok shows up? The day that all the Blizzard games show up on.
I think, I don't know. I could see it being November maybe this year. I mean, wasn't Forbidden West a year after?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wonder. I don't know. Probably within 1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
I would say.
All right. And as far as games I'm playing, TBD.
Nothing. Yeah.
Not playing much
Making
lately,
fun
so.
of me. At least I play games.
That's true. You're bringing games. Can't argue with that. What else? What else you got? You got any more teases?
Yeah. No, like I said, I mean, so I don't know, man. I am just lamenting the amount of time I don't have because I'm staring at my PlayStation 5 right now, and I see Cyberpunk sitting next to it. I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about Sekiro. I'm like, ooh, that sounds fun. And then I'm like, oh, I got Hi-Fi Rush and Signalis and Pentiment. But for right now, Hi-Fi Rush is my focus. I'm gonna get through that, and then probably I'll either choose Signalis or Pentiment to see if I can get hooked into one of those to at least check out or, see if I want to subscribe to Game Pass for another month to get through them, or at least be like, okay, I know I don't want to play this. But some of those smaller games before I decide to jump into a Cyberpunk or something like that. But, then we're hitting Murderer's Row with the amount of games coming out at the end of starting at the end of the month. So we'll see. We'll see. Life goes on.
Yeah. And we are building up to opening night live, so I wonder if Keeley he'll start the teases.
That's true.
Xbox
God, that's at the end of this month, isn't it?
Yeah, your boy,
cool.
Xbox has already been teasing what's coming. So
my boy Xbox.
Yep.
Phil Spencer, now known as Xbox.
But again, it'll be probably a few more topics, and then it'll be, like you said, just game after game after game after game, and probably bringing them multiple weeks. So,
yep.
All right. So, John was supposed to pick the song. He didn't, but I'm going to make it really easy for him. I just want him to pick his favorite Sonic song, pick whatever zone he wants from Masaru Nakamura. So, what? I know you know all the songs.
I do.
Between Sonic 1 and 2, is there a zone particular? We've already done Chemical Plant, so you can't do that.
Yeah, so I've been listening to them all, and I think that Chemical Plant, there's 3 songs that are at the top of the list. It's Chemical Plant Zone, Metropolis Zone, but I'm going to go with Mystic Caves Zone. There's a spooky little funk to that one. I love it. So Mystic Caves Zone, I believe it's World 6, I want to say. I believe it's World 6.
There's so many worlds in Sonic 2. If that's correct, that's a good guess. But good choice. Good choice. Funky is the correct adjective to use there. So All right, so that is 6 things. Again, we thank you for listening. Please, if you're listening, be like Jesse. Email in. Let us know. Again, as you can see, John's mood infinitely improved knowing we got a listener in New Zealand. So if you're listening, feel free to reach out to us on any of our social platforms. But other than that...
And let us know any old school games that you maybe had from your childhood or would love to hear us talk about play, because we will do that too.
Yep.
We have all, like, I'm not... all of them. All of them.
Well, this up to the 16-bit era.
Right, so yeah, so Super Nintendo on down.
Yeah, correct.
Going backwards in time.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, again, thank you all for listening. We will be back next week with 6 more things. Bye, guys.
See ya. Bye, Jesse.